Good morning. I want to talk today about some big changes that are happening in society. I live in the DC area. We have a new president. Just took over the helm of the Kennedy Center, which is where I've worked often and have colleagues there and follow the productions and themes and such. And I have my own themes. I'm a solution-based innovator. I'm an artist, professional musician, many years, very steeped in very highest level training as a singer, first and foremost. Had a very successful concert last night down by the U.S. Capitol. I sang the alto solo. And they say if one person compliments you, there are 10 that didn't. And I don't mingle around too much after the show, but there were at least 15 people, and there weren't that many people there. So it was, my voice is trained to touch people at pretty deep levels. Good. How blessed am I? And I sing to bless others. I can tell you my parents and my family never came to my performances. There was never anyone out in the audience that I knew that was coming to see and, cheer me on. None of that. Oh, well. So I always considered my voice an instrument of healing and letting forces of healing, the God thing, letting the forces of this bigger picture come out of my singing voice, and I still do that. Never sing hallelujah the same way twice. Never sing amen. Never sing any words the same way twice. I am constantly growing in my spiritual and humanitarian development, and I try to shape that in the sound, the messaging sound in my voice. This led me to an observation about 25 years ago in a room of worst case dementia patients. And I was just shocked at that audience. It's about 15 of them, I think, at least, yeah. And caregivers that were like deer in the headlights. And there was a piano in the room. And I played just a couple of notes. I had heard somewhere that I was at the peak of my career, big career, which I still have the privilege and honor and unbelievable fortune to be able to participate in. I'm not making a fortune with it anymore, but it's still a fortune. All my treasures are within. So I was in this room at the peak of my career, making big bucks, red carpet, Kennedy Center. About a dozen times I've sung There's a Soloist, featured soloist. So this room full of unbelievable pain and suffering and dysfunction. And I had heard that they like music. And there was a piano and a hymnal on the piano. And I just kind of sat down and played. It was open to Amazing Grace or something. And immediately it stopped. And that was one of the most powerful observations I'd ever had. So I took that ball eventually. That was around 2000. Here it is 25 years later. And I'm on my second doctorate studying precision music and I thought at that time, precision music that really changes people, like medicine, really changes people. And doctors don't let me pick the medicine. I don't know what the medicine is I need. Doctors prescribe my medicine, and they understand that medicine, and they understand the play out, why they're giving it, what happens immediately, long-term, extra long-term, etc. But I remember I saw them change like pop. It's like all the chaos that was going on in the room stopped. and there was a lot of chaos. It was frightening. But it stopped. And I remember thinking, my God, what if I actually put a program together for them? If just a couple of notes on a creaky old piano would change, stop the madness, what would a real program do? So that's part of the journey that led me to this solution-based study of neuroscience, health science, mental health, gerontology, and studies that shaped music programming to really change people. So, in this administration, RFK and debunking the normal science, the current paradigms that need adjustments or transformation, they need to evolve too. Part of that is prescription music programming, including sleep cycle health, that I am currently studying. It's on my iWatch. How did I sleep last night? I had 2 months of no treatment, 2 months of the treatment, and now I'm kind of going in between, back and forth. And it should be popping up. I'm surprised it's not. So we have, okay, all right. That's my dissertation. So I am a solution-based innovator. I'm not a play-the-game-based normal science player. I am a solution-based innovator. Like there's a handful of them over history. I won't put the names down, but I'm one of them, their things. I'm a polymath as well. That's okay. That's great. I'm working on several Bach partitas, Johann Sebastian Bach. I play them. I sight read them. I learn them. I understand the patience and the relatively short process to learn a new piece of music at a performance level. It takes 3 days if you're comfortable with the style and composer. It takes a little longer if you need to internalize new hand positions and such that different composers write out. So choosing the music, choosing the medicine, very important. You want to learn how to play? I used to play guitar. Well, let's choose the music that will get you started, right? Like any coach of any, who knows their stuff will give you the layout. So these are paradigm shifts, and the big changes in health funding and new management at the Kennedy Center calls for innovative ideas. I'm pretty good at that. I'm pretty good at crawling all over that whiteboard, but here I am just talking here. I have about 400 films, about 200 of them are whiteboard, about an hour, at least hour each at the whiteboard, going through some pretty detailed new normals of understanding how we evolve within a human lifespan, how music can be a big part of that process, and how, especially in light of AI, it's a new normal out there, and AI is taking a lot time out of our day. I mean, it's allowing us to have a lot more free time. Great. So what are we going to do with that free time while we work with AI? To write emails, to write letters, to understand, oversample. I call it oversampling, which I've done throughout these degrees. the professor's talking about something, and I've got at least two computers, one looking at the language. If I don't understand a word, if I have more questions about the concept, I will plug it into Google search. Now I'm plugging it into AI while I'm, looking at them, and I've managed to learn how to type without having to look at my computer too much. Now, things, cognitive, behavioral, performance-based practices based on neuroscience findings, beginning with the Decade of the Brain. Also, massage therapy. I have my first kind of transition degree in ABC, all but certification. I took all those courses and understand the muscle sets involved with the freedom of thinking, the freedom of performance, and the freedom of this open-mindedness that we have to have. Deactivated amygdala. We talked about the amygdala yesterday a little bit. That's a big part of understanding how this whole evolutionary at the individual level works. We have an amygdala, the fear center. It is extremely complex, and it's about the size of an acorn. Although there's people can argue that it does have a little more wider, but it's extremely complex, and the complexity of it is mind-boggling. And that's evolution, because evolution was complex. We evolved in a world teeming with life, unexpected things crawling out of the woodwork all the time, depending on where you lived. But where it was most comfortable is where everything was hanging out. Over 1,000 unique varieties in one single acre of Brazilian rainforest evolved things. So humidity, sunshine, of course, water, interactive elements of transition metals, which is what I study. Fungi are kind of the weird, wacko underworld. So to understand how we've evolved to this plastic world where nothing's crawling around, nothing's living, breathing, growing, that we can see or react to, we still have that amygdala. And that amygdala is going to and what it does is when you see this big, weird, yellow frog hissing at you, whatever, and you eventually learn that it's deadly poisonous, right? Just by accident, someone picks it up, and next thing you know, they're in seizures and dead. That's life. Even a century ago. Some deadly stuff out there. And so that's like, that hooks our amygdala. Our amygdala's like, that's the mutation center of humanity. And we still have it activated by we're in this Wild West frontal lobe a lot, which is really like the Wild West. It's not very populated by neurons. So we're kind of like, a lot of that. And the small wins, like stealing from someone or popping off your competition to make you bigger or whatever, it's faking. It's a kind of a fake evolution. We all individually want to stay oxygenated, deactivated amygdala, and to boom. And that I'm trying to show by example how that has happened in my experience. And it hasn't been a magic carpet ride. It's just been serendipitous, it seems. It feels blessed in many ways. I would have shortchanged myself if I would have gotten what I wanted when I was a teenager, or at any stage. So to stay open, and that's the power of this open-minded frontal lobe, rather than a manipulative, fear-driven. Because that amygdala hooks once you're in the fear, it tends to continue to dig its roots in to create the mutation. And we see a lot of mutations in whatever animal life is left, but in the oceans, we're seeing deep down. So something happens, the fear kicks in, and it signals for mutation. It's hypoxic, it cleaves, it cuts, it lets one thing survive, and everything else is like... So it's really good to understand that. I'll cut off, but I just wanted to do a lecture on the idea of being a solution-based seeker in life, with kindness and humanity as a driving force, and the open-minded, deactivated amygdala. That's the goal. Sooner you can get there, the better. I'm working with a lot of students. I'm in my second doctoral degree in health services research, policy analysis, data analysts, young people in their 20s mostly. Fear, there's a lot of fear. They can see the whites of their eyes, right? And reluctant to show up for life. Feel like they have to stay home and boom, boom, bang it all in. Well, AI's banging it in for us these days. So permission granted to loosen up and show up, suit up, show up, and engage with the circumstances that be. New head of the Kennedy Center, new head of the Health and Human Services, other things that are happening. I am powerless to change that, except that I can continue to self-actualize and evolve and show by example what I have discovered as a platform for maturing and living within a human lifespan as best I can do. And I'm doing it pretty well. And I'm still singing. And I'm still playing that piano over there. And pushing through this second doctorate in cutting edge artificial intelligence, all the coding, everything, that the reality of what we're dealing with now. Trying to keep my act together in that regard so that I can help others. It's all about, and the more I help others, I get a little bit back. That's what I have found. And that's an evolutionary thing too. All right, thank you for listening.